Hey everyone, just want to do my Tuesday Q&A. I do these every Tuesday. Post your questions below and then I'll answer them in the next one. There's an FAQ section on my website. There's a link in the description. Be sure to check that out before posting questions because I don't answer anything that's already appearing on there. First one today from Hot Masked One. Where do you see yourself in 10 years? That's a tough question. You know, I don't really know for sure. I do know that I want to continue to live minimally as much as I can. More than likely maybe getting like a tiny house or something like that and settling somewhere by the coast and, you know, trying to live as minimally as I can. Like I said, being able to travel as much as possible. I don't really see myself having a family or anything like that. That's not really something that I'm interested in. So that's about it though. It's really tough to say exactly. Filiberto Villegas. Hey Nate, longtime viewer. I love the videos. Keep up the great work. Thank you. I got a few questions. You spend a lot of time on the road. I was curious what genre of music or bands that you're into and if you use Spotify or Pandora. I don't use anything like that, any sort of streaming source. I just have most of my music on my phone and then I can just stream it through Bluetooth and I just listen to it, you know, through a MP3 player on my phone. But in terms of what type of music I'm into, primarily like folk stuff and acoustic and jam bands, and then a lot of classic rock as well. Kind of a pretty wide range of music, blues and some jazz and even some classical music as well. Kind of just a lot of stuff that I listen to. But I have a lot of music on my phone and like a lot of full albums, and I'll usually just go through and listen to full albums when I'm driving. I really enjoy doing that. Also, being in Southern California, do you have any plans of checking out the US Open this year in Huntington Beach? As of right now, I'm not really planning to. I'm not even really sure exactly when that is. I want to say it's later, in the fall or so, but more than likely I'll probably be out of here by then. If it's any earlier, maybe, but as of right now, I'm not planning to head up there and check it out. Allie Davidson. Hey Nate, how much did it initially cost you to start van life? That's a pretty tough question. I mean, the cost of like everything in here is probably somewhere around $1,000, I want to say, with the fridge and the solar and the battery and then the wood to build it and the mattress here and pretty much all that stuff. You know, that was all over time though that I accumulated that. The fridge I didn't have when I first started. I started with just a cooler and some ice. So, you know, I guess maybe from the beginning $500 or so, and then it kind of added up over time as I added on to the element and stuff like that. Jay Adams, have you ever seen a shark while surfing and did you freak out? I would have freaked out. I actually have before. I was out in Pensacola not too long ago. It's actually been a couple of times, but I saw like a little 4-footer swim by us and one of my friends pointed it out. It was pretty funny. We weren't really freaking out. You know, you just, you know, hope for the best, but more often than not, they're not going to bother you if you're not bothering them, and it is their home, so I guess it's to be expected that there's going to be sharks out there. Swifty with Fragile X, have you ever watched Hobo Alley's channel? She lives in a van also. Yeah, I've seen some of her videos. And have you thought about coming to New York and taking Antine? I'd like to go back there at some point and catch up. I have some friends that live over there. I don't know if I want to spend too much time in the city. It gets pretty stressful for me being in the big city like that, but yeah, I'd like to come back and check it out. A City Nomad, love your videos. Nate, thank you. I live in a converted U-Haul. Right on. So your question is, have you considered going to the Winter RTR in Quartzsite in January? I've thought about going. Thought about going maybe last year. I don't think it's going to work out, though. It didn't work out last year just because I was in New Orleans in the winter, and that's probably where I'm going to be again this winter, you know, doing some work for somebody or something like that. So I can imagine it's going to be tough for me to drive all the way back to Arizona and then back just for that. But I would like to go. It's just, unfortunately, I don't think it's going to work out. Next one is from JRO Bessie. They say, hey Nate, thanks for answering my question. I applied to the sugar beet harvest, but I was turned down because I stated I would be camping in an element. Have you confirmed your employment with them this season? Yeah, I have. I have a setup date and everything like that, all done as of right now. I don't know if maybe it's because it's my second year and I have experience working in the quality lab, which is what's benefiting me, but it does seem like you said, they are getting pickier. They're, you know, looking more for couples in RVs. That's like their main thing, and then other folks in like fully self-contained RVs. I think Brian was just talking about this in one of his Saturday chat videos the other day that I was watching. But yeah, same deal. I mean, I guess I got pretty lucky when I signed up for it last year and got in, and now that I have the experience, they aren't going to turn me down, and hopefully not, at least unless they get a huge influx of RVers, but we'll see how it goes. Hopefully it works out. Audrey Kwan, I love your videos. Thank you. What made you decide against getting a flexible solar panel again? That flexible one that I had was defective, and I sent it back to them and they actually ended up sending me a replacement, but it didn't arrive for a few weeks after I hit the road. So it's actually sitting in Antine's apartment right now, completely unopened and unused, a brand new flexible panel. I decided to go with the foldable one though, primarily because I didn't want to have two flexible panels. I would buy one and then get the free one, and then I'd have two, or have to like return it. I don't know, it just would have been a pain. And then also because it was defective within a year and it went bad. Luckily it was under warranty, but it's like, do I really want to be buying those defective panels over and over again? That's the second defective one I've had. So I decided to go with something else, and I got the foldable one. Also, when I mounted that panel to my roof, it was partially shaded by my roof rack, just the way that I had to lay it out so that it would stick to the roof, and that also caused problems. So you ask here, do I have issues driving under trees or going in car washes? I never took it through a car wash because I was afraid it would destroy it, but spraying it with water was always fine, just at like a pressure washer type thing. And then issues driving under trees, I mean, that partial shading and stuff like that definitely, you know, negatively reduce the output, whereas this foldable one, I can move it wherever I want if I'm in the shade, or I can just mount it on top of the roof rack and I don't have any issues with it. It gets full sun. It's definitely more efficient. So that's part of the reason why I chose that instead of the flexible one. George McVlog, looks like you had a question here about lithium batteries for my interior battery. That's something that I've thought about a little bit. I know the technology is relatively new, and like you said, they are pretty expensive. So I don't think I'm going to go with it. It says, since you seem to be doing well financially. I wouldn't say I'm doing that well financially. I definitely can't afford to spend thousands of dollars on a battery, but if I could, it would definitely be something worth exploring. I can imagine that over the next few years, lithium batteries are going to become cheaper because the technology is going to become better and more readily available and stuff. But as of right now, I don't think it's something I'm going to consider. 1M1A says, if you use street curbside parking overnight, does the vehicle tilting to the right bother you when you're sleeping, or do you have a way to compensate for it? I don't really have a way to compensate for it, and I try to avoid those spots as best I can. Last night I ended up staying in one that was at a little bit of an angle. Doesn't really bother me though. You get used to it pretty quickly, and I sleep on my side, and I just kind of have to position my weight a little bit more, and I don't find myself like sliding around or anything like that. It's not drastic enough of a curb to affect me that much. Troyston, nice video, Nate, as usual. Thank you. I am a drone flyer also, and wonder if you ever run into no-fly zones when you are going to fly. So I haven't really run into that in like on the app. Like the DJI app has never like shut me down or anything like that. But yeah, it looks like you're curious about San Diego. Yeah, San Diego is pretty much a huge no-fly zone. There's a massive airport right in the middle of downtown, so you can't really get close to the downtown area. And then there's a bunch of military and naval bases and stuff like that as well. So you have to be very careful in San Diego. And I really haven't flown much in San Diego, other than I think maybe once or twice at this point. But yeah, I mean, it's you just have to be careful with it. And I do use, like, I think it's Hivemapper is the map, or an app or something like that online. I just go and basically just type in drone map, and it kind of shows you areas where you can and cannot fly in certain restricted flight zones and stuff like that, and I try to abide by that as best I can. Jason Relaxation, looks like you asked a question about, do I plan on getting anything to put over my windows? I actually do have rain guards on my windows though, and it allows me to crack the windows at night if I need to. I never really use it, but if it ever gets really hot or humid or something like that, then I will use them occasionally, but it's pretty rare. Michael Hester, hey Nate, are you currently going to school? Do you plan on a particular career for your future? I have a double major in Spanish and International Relations. I finished school years and years ago, and I don't really plan on having a career in that field. You know, if anything, I want to have a career in like filmmaking and video and web design and the stuff that I've been studying and learning myself for the past few years, but I'd really just like to continue to build my business, and that's really the plan for my financial outlook, I guess, for the future. As of right now, we'll see how it goes though. Neckpier Nud, hey Nate, what does your family think of your lifestyle? I know I'm going to get trouble for answering this, but I don't want to put it on the FAQ section of my website just because it's something that constantly is changing, and it feels weird just writing that down in, you know, on the website. Like I said, it's constantly different. So I'm going to answer it again for Neckpier Nud here, who's looking like they're considering living in a van and they're just scared of being judged by family members. My advice to you is just don't worry about what other people think. My parents and my family were very judgmental at first. They had no idea. They didn't understand what the heck I was doing. And over time, they become more open to it and more understanding of it. But it's just that, I don't know, when I made the decision to do this, you can't care about what other people think. You just have to do what you think is right. And if you think that it's the right move for you, then you should just go for it. Eventually, they'll come around to it. It might take them years and years. It might not, you know, it might take a while, but it's for me, it was worth it. It was worth the wait, and they seem to be more. My family seems to be a lot more open to it now. You know, they're not huge fans of it. They always worry about me and stuff like that, but they also realize that it makes me happy, and that it allows me to live the life that I want to live. So they're in support of it in that sense. Chris Allen Arnett. Brian, Adventure Van Man said they are now limiting folks for the sugar beet harvest. Yeah, I just mentioned that. I believe he's said it's for new people. Yeah, I think that it's primarily for some of the newer folks who are maybe, you know, not living in fully self-contained RVs and stuff. And then looks like you have another one on the brain surgery question. I thought the cut was part of your hair. Let's see. Weren't you a redhead when you first started the show? And now it's brown. No, I've never been a redhead. I think that maybe what you're in reference to there is just that when I was doing this last summer in San Diego, I had longer hair, and my hair gets really, really light when it's in the sun, especially when it's long. Right now, it's not really long enough, so you can't really notice it, but when I'm out, you know, in the sun all day teaching surf lessons, like, it became almost completely blonde by the end of the summer, but in the transition, I'm sure it looked a little bit lighter, like a light brownish red or something like that, so that might be what you're thinking. David Akapan has a couple of questions here. Have you ever considered getting a Costco credit visa? I never had until I read your comment here. Looks like that's a really good deal. Maybe it's something I should consider. I don't know. I have a pretty good credit card right now. I get really good rewards with it, but maybe that's something to look into for sure. And then have you ever considered a Zero Breeze Kickstarter AC? I had to look into it. I had no idea what it was until I read the comment, but it looks like it's a pretty solid solution. I have to do way more research before I invest in something like that, but it's basically just like a small, compact, battery-operated AC system designed specifically for camping. It looks like it's pretty cool. I'll have to look into it more. Doris C, doesn't it make you nervous or concerned or maybe even paranoid being so open with what's inside your element and informing the public? Not really. It's not really something that worries me too much. I mean, I realize that there are messed up people out there, and it's something that I'm aware of, and I'm always kind of on my toes just paying attention, but you know, hopefully I just don't ever have to deal with someone like that. I mean, that would be really unfortunate. And then what's your point of view that the government lists you as homeless if you live in a car, van, or RV, even if you're a millionaire? I don't really know, you know, what my viewpoint is. I don't really know how that affects people, like me being listed as homeless versus being not listed as homeless, if that really affects me in any way. I guess, I don't know if it goes in like some sort of record or something. I don't know. I don't know enough about it to really make a decision on that. My thoughts on it now are that it probably doesn't affect you that much. And even so, I have a residential address, and I'm just traveling full time out of my van. You know, I could just state it as that. You know, like I have an address. I have an address on my license. It's a mailing address. It works like that. So I don't know. How would they know the difference? I don't know. Brennan Ford, Nate, what kind of tires did you put on the Element when you had to replace the set? I used the Cooper Discoveries. They're probably one of the cheaper ones that I could get on there, and I didn't have a lot of money to spend on really fancy tires, but they've worked out really well. Highway noise is pretty fine. It's pretty quiet. They seem to be doing okay for now. Jake Weisenberg, hey Nate, big fan of the channel. Thank you. Was wondering if you notice seasonal jobs getting harder to come by. I haven't personally noticed that. I know that I've come up a couple of times in the video already here, but I know that people have mentioned it with the sugar beet harvest, but I don't know. I think that there's always going to be a lot of jobs out there for people who are traveling and work camping positions. I think they're going to be open. Maybe they will become less and less available, but I think they're always going to be there. Simon Prickett, hey, I also have an Element, and some days I love the unusual suicide door layout, and other times it's a real pain to deal with. How do you like yours? So the suicide doors, I actually really like them for the most part. My biggest concern is with the front doors up there, because for some reason they don't really stay open that well. So if I'm parked on like a weird angle or something like that, the doors will actually just like shut on me while I'm standing there, and they're pretty heavy, so they'll like knock you over, they'll kind of hit you. It's kind of uncomfortable. But in terms of like the back suicide doors opening up, I really like how it's easy to kind of access everything in here. I can move things in and out. It's easy to get the solar panel in and out when I need to put it on the roof. So overall, I mean, yeah, they are heavy, and they can I can see how they could definitely be a pain, especially if you're like putting passengers in the back seat. Like, that is absolutely terrible. But for me, just opening it up and being able to access everything, I really like it. It's one of my favorite parts about the Element. Renegade Bastard, hey Nate, I love the channel, bud. My question to you is, I recently purchased a 2017 Ram ProMaster City. What are your thoughts and opinions on mini cargo vans like the Ram ProMaster City? I really like them. I really like the Nissan NV200. I'm a huge fan of it. I think it's a really great van, and it's something that I would consider, but I think it's maybe a little bit too small for two people to be in, and you know, Antine and I are considering maybe doing this at some point in the future, so I don't know if I would want to invest in one of those at this point, but I do really like them. It was something that I was considering up until that point, and I think that they are really great. I just did a tour with Matt from the Freedom Van, and he has a Ford Transit, pretty much the same size, same everything like that, and there's a lot of space in there. There's a lot of room that you can do a lot with, and I really like them. I think that they're really awesome. And in terms of upgrading to a larger vehicle than the Element, it's definitely in the cards for some point in the near future, or far future, within a year or so. Rick D's, what make and model is your fridge? It is a Dometic CF18. There are links all over my website, and I believe even in the description of this video there will be a link in there as well, in all my videos. But definitely check that out. If you click the link, you'll be able to see it. And if you go to Dometic's website, you can find information on it on there as well. And I think even if you just Google search Dometic CF18 manual, there's like a PDF document that's available as well, and you can look into it, and it has all the specifics of power consumption and stuff like that, which I'm guessing is what you're looking for. Cullen, how do you keep your surfboards from getting stolen? I have stainless steel locking roof straps with like a locking mechanism on both of them, so they're pretty hard to take. I mean, you could probably cut through it if you had the right tools, and it might take you a half hour or so, but I'm sure you could do it. But yeah, I mean, so far so good. Hopefully it stays that way. Matt Dixon, last question this week. Hey, how would you design your Element differently if you could do it again? I think I definitely would. And what I would do is probably remove this closet space back here, move the cabinet a little bit further back, and then increase counter space so that I could have more room to actually try to cook in here. I think being able to cook in here would be possible if I just had the counter space to be able to do it, and it would be really cool just to sit here and cook up dinner if I ever need to. I think I would cook more often if it was a little bit easier to do so, and even somewhere that I could mount like a flat, like a flat Coleman stove, and just go from there. So that's probably the biggest thing I would do. I would keep the fold-out bed. I know that I complain about it a lot, but I also really like the ability to be able to sit back here and hang out and stuff like that. So, but yeah, the biggest thing would be figure out a way to be able to comfortably cook in here while still being able to keep everything else that I have in here as well. So that sums it up for all the questions this week, guys. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll talk to you all in the next video.